Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West Texas.
Alina's just exceptional. I mean, in addition to being a new mom, she just got to the semifinals of Wimbledon, beat Iga Swiatek, the #1 player in the world, and she's doing all this amazing stuff to help Ukraine and still finding the time to come and spend the time on the courts here with our kids here in the Permian Basin.
Tonight, a tennis star hit the courts at Bush Tennis Center to support kids from Texas to Ukraine. We hear from Elena Svetulina in just a few minutes here on CBS7 News at 9. Thanks for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks to those of you who are joining us live from the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Lauren Munt, and we start tonight with some energy news. It's Energy Week, and to kick it off, the Permian Basin had some special guests take a tour of one of the many oil rigs in the area. Representative August Pfluger and the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, spoke about the energy industry and some of the challenges that they face. Speaker Mike Johnson referred to the current administration as, quote, a radical anti-energy agenda. Representative Pfluger says although every day is a challenge, they continue to fight against the Biden administration with legislations that he believes Republicans and Democrats can agree on.
House Republicans are determined to protect American jobs. We want to unleash American energy dominance again. We want to help our allies. We want to reduce emissions. And we can do all that, but it's going to require a difference. It's going to require a change in who the commander-in-chief is and the control of Congress as well.
Johnson says this week the House will have additional legislation that will, quote, take aim against anti-energy policies, including H.R. 1121, which will support fracking, oppose a carbon tax, and H.R. 6009, which will decrease the fees for oil and gas producers and more.
I think anytime you get a chance to talk to the actual people who are doing the job, producing affordable, reliable energy, you can really tie together what's happening in Washington. Washington is a bubble, but when you get out into America, when you come to the Permian Basin, when you spend time in Odessa, when you're here in Midland, and you ask those questions, you really put it together.
You can find part of that energy discussion on our CBS7 Facebook page, or you can visit our website, cbs7.com, for a recap of the tour. In some more legislative news, the United States Senate is gearing up for a vote that could lead to a ban on TikTok, one of the most widely used apps in the world. If the ban passes, it's estimated that 1.1 million content creators will lose their platform. And one of those creators is a West Texan. His name is Eric Baker, and he's a professor at UTBB who teaches in the music department and has over 40,000 followers on TikTok. Those 1.1 million content creators and potentially Eric Baker will not just lose a place to post content, but also a source of income.
My heart would break for those people if they were to lose their income or if they were to take a negative financial impact from this. But hopefully those people have a diverse stream of revenue that they can, weather the storm. I know that creators are very creative, and so if they were to lose this, I'm sure that they would be able to come up with new ideas.
The House voted in favor of H.R. 7521 last Wednesday, and among those yes votes was Congressman August Pfluger, who says, quote, TikTok is fully owned and controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. I questioned the CEO of TikTok myself and can see the threat this application can pose to our national security. I am proud to have voted to protect the privacy of Americans and fully counter the CCP on our own soil. If the Senate passes the bill, President Biden has said he would sign it into law. And the Supreme Court heard arguments today in a case that tests how far the federal government can go in pressuring social media companies to remove content that it believes spreads misinformation. Skylar Henry reports from Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Make some noise for free speech!
Groups who say their voices have been silenced by the government rallied outside the Supreme Court Monday as the justices heard arguments about whether the Biden administration went too far combating controversial posts on social media.
The First Amendment, had it been heeded during the pandemic, would have saved lives. And I hope the court does the right thing by restoring the First Amendment to this country.
The case, Murphy versus Missouri, arose out of efforts during the early months of the Biden administration to push social media platforms to take down posts that officials said spread falsehoods about the pandemic and the 2020 presidential election. with lower courts ruling that federal employees could not coerce or significantly encourage a platform's content moderation decisions.
Government can't just run rampant pressuring platforms to censor private speech.
Some justices appeared skeptical of the challenge to the Biden administration's actions.
What do you do with the fact that the platforms say no all the time to the government?
Your Honor, it doesn't matter.
Attorneys for the Biden administration argued that the federal officials' actions amounted to persuasion, not coercion.
Government speech crosses the line into coercion only if, viewed objectively, it conveys a threat of adverse government action. And because no threats happened here, the court should reverse.
A decision on the case is expected in June. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
After a chilly weekend, it seems to have kind of warmed up a little bit. We've got Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller to talk about this week's forecast. Tom?
Yes, we are going to see a little bit of a warm up today. Things were still on the cool side. Taking a look at the high temperatures that were observed across the area, we saw those generally into the lower 60s, running about 10 degrees below where they should be this time of year. The chilliest spots were down here in the mountain areas. Alpine 52, 51 in Marfa for the afternoon high. Current temperatures a little on the cool side out there, staying into the 50s, mountain areas upper 40s, as we are looking at a mix of clear skies and clouds out there. East winds are going to bring in some low cloudiness, it looks like, towards the early morning hours, but it shouldn't last all that long, and we should see a mix of clouds tomorrow as temperatures will drop down into the lower 40s overnight tonight.
Thank you, Tom. You may recall that in January, organizations that receive housing and urban development funding are required to conduct a nationwide survey called the PIT count. This count, taken on a single night, aims to capture the number of individuals who are experiencing homelessness. And now we've got the results from this year. In 2022, the survey results tallied 14 unsheltered individuals. In 2023, 40 unsheltered. And this year, 2024, that number has risen to 87 unsheltered individuals, 7 of which are veterans. Within the community of people experiencing homelessness comes subcategories like individuals with disabilities, veterans, domestic abuse survivors, and families that are experiencing homelessness. Now that results have been tallied, the next step is to assess what to do as a community for the community.
Now, these are total numbers that we know that we have in our community? No, but within 24 hours, this is what we were able to observe. With these numbers, we are ready to do a community assessment, prioritize the needs. All are ready to roll up our sleeves and get to work.
Odessa Links hopes to continue to accurately count the individuals experiencing homelessness in our community and combat those rising statistics. And a water line replacement project in Odessa is starting today. Construction will be happening on the 2800 block of Hilltop and is expected to take around 6 weeks. Affected customers will be made aware 1 week before any street or alley closings. In addition, contractors will also give 24 hours notice to any temporary disruption to water pressure during the project. And today, one Odessa-born tennis champion hit the Bush Tennis Center's courts to raise money for kids. But she wasn't born in Odessa, Texas. Elena Svitolina hails from Odessa, Ukraine. And tonight, she played in the center's Love Wins Challenge, which will benefit kids in the Ukraine and the Permian Basin. The tennis champion has ranked as high as number 3 in the world by the Women's Tennis Association. She won Ukraine's first Olympic medal in tennis among numerous other wins. At the same time, she's running a foundation in her name. After Russia invaded Ukraine, her foundation helped relocate kids, and her work continues to support them. That's what brings her to the Bush Tennis Center's Love Wins Challenge.
Seeing so much things going on in your country is extremely tough for the kids. So that's why I think to join forces together and do something great for the kids, it's our goal together with Bush Tennis Center, and I'm happy that we are on the right path.
Bush Tennis Center leaders have worked with Svitolina since 2018. They bonded over a love for tennis and supporting kids through the sport. Now that kids in her country face war hardships, she says she wants to use her platform to make a difference. If you missed tonight's challenge, don't worry. Bush Tennis Center often hosts tennis stars to serve as mentors for Permian Basin kids. And the UTBB women's basketball season has come to an end. And despite last week's loss, the group has many accolades and positive moments to remember from the 2023 to 2024 season. This year, they hold the most wins in program history with 24. And they have the Lone Star Conference Defensive Player of the Year in Alexis Quaidman, who also became the first player to record 1,000 points and 1,000 rebounds. Holly Hemline became the program leader for three-pointers made in a career. And head coach Ray Booth was chosen as a Sheriff Coach of the Year while leading the team to Lone Star Conference Tournament, along with the NCAA tournament for first time in program history. She credits it to the fact that every member of the team could depend on each other.
The fact that we have a team that we all trust each other, I think is a huge contributor to our success, because now we know we all want the same thing and we care about each other. And so we need to continue that trust and make sure everybody that we add to our roster for next year can come in and know that they're welcome and that we're going to be at a great place when we start, but every day we're working to gain trust and get to know each other better to where we can call each other family. This team is very special.
Coach Booth thanked the seniors who put in a lot of time and effort to bring the team to its most successful season. She also thanked fans for supporting the team and sending them off to the 2 tournaments that they played in. In more local basketball news, the Odessa College men's and women's basketball teams will move on to the Junior College National Tournament. It'll be the 4th consecutive trip to Hutchinson, Kansas for the men. They come into the tournament as number 13 and face Trinidad State this Sunday. For the Lady Wranglers, it will be their first chance to compete for a national championship since 2019. They'll be heading up to Casper, Wyoming soon. They secured the 7th seed and received a first-round bye and play the winner of Eastern Florida State and North Dakota Sciences next Wednesday. Be sure to tune in to CBS7 News at 10 for more sports news with Sports Director Jair Brooks Davis. And still ahead, area first responders say the influx of people coming to Texas to see the solar eclipse could interfere with cell phone service. The solution that they've come up with if they get an emergency call, next on CBS7 News at 9. Across Texas, first responders are issuing a warning about communication around the time of the total solar eclipse. Some estimates show that there could be over 1 million people pouring into the state to see it. Officials say that cell and internet service could get jammed with the influx of visitors, and that could affect emergency services. Officials have stated that disaster declarations or state of emergencies will go into effect before the rush of visitors on April 8th. Their reasoning? The strain that it will put on emergency services, traffic fuel, and food supplies.
If the cell system goes down, there may be times when they're not able to make phone calls, as far as, other things they may want to do is not create a panic.
Officials recommend that Texans prepare like they would for a storm, meaning get necessities ahead of time, because more visitors could mean more products gone off the shelves.
Well, back home in West Texas, we are looking at a quiet evening. Things are a little on the cool side, but is a warm-up on the way? We'll talk about that in the forecast for the first day of spring. Up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, let's take a look at those current temperatures across the area, seeing that we do have readings into the mid-50s out there. So definitely jacket weather. It's been cool today in the mountain areas, and it's staying that way as temperatures all the way down to 47 in Fort Davis. Now take a look at the weather makers. Still waiting on this upper level low to move through. It's kind of waffled back to the west a little bit. It'll wobble back to the east here over the next couple of days and may bring a chance of some showers, thunder showers in the forecast on Wednesday. But overall, once this system moves out, we'll see things start to warm up as a ridge of high pressure builds in. Across the state today, had a few showers across portions of West Texas, Edwards Plateau, Hill Country. Looks like a lot of that is dying down for tonight, and most everything else is tangled up with that upper level low back across portions of Arizona, the boot heel of New Mexico. We are looking at temperatures today across the state a little bit below where they should be this time of year. Even the Texas Gulf Coast a little cooler, as temperatures only topped out at 59 in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Take a look at that future cast. Again, we're going to have a few clouds overnight tonight. There may be some low clouds early on in the morning. By the afternoon, a mix of clouds and sun, more sun, I think, than anything else, as we're going to see things start to warm up a little bit here. Now on Wednesday, again, we have that little disturbance rolling across. Some Gulf moisture moves in, and by the late afternoon hours, we could see an isolated shower, thunderstorm start to pop up across the area. But again, they're going to be very isolated. Tonight, it's going to be cold in the morning, as we'll see temperatures drop down into the mid to lower 40s out there. More of a southeast wind in the forecast may limit what we see in the way of low clouds early on, and a south wind's on the way tomorrow, so temperatures warming up by about 10 degrees or so, but still a little bit below where we should be this time of the year. CBS7 First Alert exclusive 10-day forecast is showing that for the start of spring, milder temperatures are on the way, but really see some spring weather for the rest of the week. There's that shower chance, about 20% coming up on Wednesday afternoon. And this weekend, things start to cloud up late in the weekend as we'll see another cold front arrive in West Texas early part of next week. Maybe a thunder shower or two with it, but plenty of wind looks to be on the way with that front early next week.
Coming up, the campaign trail is heating up as President Biden looks for a win out west, and Trump provides some clarification about a statement he made over the weekend. The latest on the 2024 campaign after the break. Former President Donald Trump is clarifying controversial comments he made over the weekend, and President Biden is looking to win support out west. CBS's Nicole Skenga reports from Washington.
Former President Donald Trump is clarifying comments he made in Ohio Saturday, warning of a bloodbath.
We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
The former president posted on his social media Monday that he was just referring to auto industry imports. But he's also drawing criticism for his characterization of migrants.
These are animals, okay?
Some fellow Republicans are bristling.
The general tone of the speech is why many Americans continue to wonder, should President Trump be president?
Former Vice President Mike Pence told CBS's Face the Nation why he won't back his former boss for president.
I see him departing from the mainstream conservative agenda that has defined the Republican Party over the last 40 years.
President Biden is pushing his own re-election agenda with stops out west this week in Arizona and Nevada. He holds a significant cash advantage over Trump, and his campaign is planning a $30 million ad blitz in battleground states this month. A handful of states are holding primaries on Tuesday, including Florida, where Trump will cast his ballot. Nicole Skenga, CBS News, Washington.
Still ahead, Keurig has a way for coffee drinkers to start their morning while being environmentally friendly, but it will require a new machine. I'll tell you all about it next. Before we go, Keurig is trying to make your morning pick-me-up a little more green. The coffee machine maker is unveiling the K-Round. It's a compostable coffee pod that's free of plastic and metal, and it's actually a piece of molded coffee that's been bound with a safe-to-ingest seaweed coating. I don't know, Tom. I don't think I want my coffee tasting like seaweed. But they say that standard K-cups are usually thrown out after making a cup, which leads to used containers filling landfills. But if you want to have this environmentally friendly coffee, you're going to have to buy a whole new machine, the Keurig Alta. So I don't know how environmentally friendly that actually is.
And I bet they're not cheap. Okay?
No, they're going to make you buy a whole new machine just for these, which means you're throwing out more plastic. I think I'm going to stick to my machine.
Well, and I wonder how much the pods cost.
Oh, I'm sure they're...
Yeah, there you go.
Very
it's a whole new spiral out of anyway.
I'm good with my coffee maker. I think I'll stick with it.
Yeah, well, the weather, again, it's been coffee weather.
It has. I've had a hot cup of coffee every morning.
A little cool out there. Might get a cup of coffee in the morning, but tomorrow, though, we're going to see an improvement in those temperatures. About 67 degrees for the start of spring, and spring weather definitely on the way.
All right.
For the rest.
Switching to iced coffees now.
There you go.
No more hot coffee. Thanks for joining us for CBS 7 News at 9 on the CW. We've got more news coming up tonight on CBS 7 News at 10.